Hello there. If there was a time for the Met Police to employ any hate crime legislation, it was yesterday. But they refused to, so have further empowered the pro-Hamas activists. We've imported conflict into the UK at an alarming rate, and this conflict is now accelerating as the Met Police find themselves unable to deal with so many people openly flouting our hate laws. And pro-Palestine protests were able to progress with virtually no police interference, while those of the campaign against anti-Semitism were stopped in their tracks, as I explained in a recent video. Not only that, Palestinian flags could be openly flown, but not the St George flag for England, even on the day of a big rugby match between England and South Africa.
For the moment, anything racist or even close to racism is said. Let me finish. For the moment, anything gets anything close to that, people are going to start getting arrested. It's just a verbal warning to let you know we're all on the same.
We now see the true state of London, the Met using hate crime law against the English flag. How low the Met, our government and the courts have sunk. Do they not understand how worrying it is for Israelis to see the police-supported mass marches of those with Palestine flags, and NHS staff also supporting them? Or have our hate laws been designed to operate in just that fashion? The police now cannot act against the open support of Hamas, an organisation proscribed as terrorist by our own government. Wonder if the police had a chat with this person. And if they didn't or don't, then it will be because the police are outnumbered on the streets by pro-Hamas supporters and would rather not enforce the law or are in no position to do so. Compare that to the instant response to the English flag I showed earlier. In fact, the police have gone out of their way to excuse their own lack of action against the likes of Hamas supporters with such utterances as, "There is more than one definition of jihad." To which I would reply that there is more than one definition of the word crusade, but you know what would happen to anyone openly saying that word in London today, wouldn't you? And as to the marches, all I see is a protest full of anti-Semitic hate. No regret for the dead Israelis and their now hostage children, for example. And those organising the marches seem quite content for those inciting hate to take part in them, as do the police. Hold the organisers to account. And take those chants, for example, all done openly on social media. That chant, as far as I can make out, is a reference for Jews to watch out and remember the Muslim slaughter of Jews in 7th century Khaybar in Arabia. And 2 people were arrested and charged with a hate crime last April after chanting this. It has been acknowledged for a long time by the police and courts that this chant amounts to incitement to racial hatred, but prosecutions are rare. These are hateful chants which those usual lovey suspects should be calling out and condemning. Those organisations like Hope Not Hate, for example. But what do we see? Either zilch or tacit, if not direct endorsement of this incitement to hatred. I've just checked out Hope Not Hate's website and can see no full-on criticism of that flag waving and chanting. I expect they're working hard on the text right now. I do not see Israelis engaging in any such activity as this, so that should tell you all you need to know. But worse, after the atrocities committed in Israel by Hamas terrorists from the Gaza Strip, the Hamas supporters instantly claim victimhood before the Israeli response is out of the gate. How can they demand sympathy while at the same time demanding that Israel and its people are eradicated from the planet? Anyway, this issue is overshadowing another big issue. Richard.
There can be no mincing of these words. Andrew Bridgen is a hero, and he should be recognised as such. I can't imagine him getting on the honours list, though, can you? No. I think he's peed off enough of the vested interests. Anyway, last Friday, he stood up in the House of Commons to an almost empty chamber and gave the single bravest speech that I have ever heard in my life, in full knowledge that he would once again be ignored by most of his peers, and the media at large would also ignore him. Andrew may be a little man in stature, but his words and presence filled the empty seats of the House of Commons in what will be remembered in history as one of the most important political speeches to have ever been made in that nest of vipers that we call the House of Commons. For once, there was a voice in the House of Commons that spoke for the people. But never have I heard such a roar from the public gallery, almost to the point where the voices cheering in support of Andrew Bridgen, they could have halted House proceedings. And that cheer, it became a roar, and that roar resonated with every family member who has lost a loved one to the medical procedure that took their husbands, wives, or children, in what the government and opposition benches would like you to think is an explainable statistical anomaly. Yeah, okay. We were assured by those who were missing on the benches, incidentally, in the House of Commons, that the medical procedure which Mr. Bridgen says may have led to so many deaths was safe and effective. And I am sure that Tory MP Elliot Colburn, or whatever his name is, his pathetic excuse for not attending the debate, represented the excuses of many of his colleagues and the so-called opposition MPs who did not attend. Yes, why weren't you there? Elliot Colburn, I have wind trapped in my bowels that is older than you, and twice as wise as well, I'll have you know. Anyway, Andrew Bridgen offered fact upon fact and stat upon stat to the House, and it was good to see support coming from some of the seats on the Tory benches, but the lack of Labour and Lib Dem attendances speaks volumes of the compliant and unquestioning nature those MPs have, which is not to be expected from left-leaning, big state Orwellian disciples. But it also goes to show how little regard, or the disregard, I should say, they have for their own constituents. For the fact that many of their constituents may have died because of, well, we don't know, really, do we? But they wouldn't even attend the debate to find out. Yes, Bridgen put nearly every MP in the House of Commons to shame, and his ridicule over the past few months in the chamber has not prevented him from having the balls to stand up for the people who have died and been categorised as simply excess deaths. Yes. Let us not forget how the leader of the House of Commons, Penny Mordaunt, repeatedly mocked Mr. Bridgen, comparing him to the first cuckoo of spring, I think we've heard. Oh, okay, Penny. This is the same Penny Mordaunt, of course, who is closely aligned with a medical procedure salesman and friend of the late, Jeffrey Epstein, Mr. Bill Gates. Yes, Bill Gates even wrote the foreword to Mordaunt's book. Yes, the same Penny Mordaunt who said that the BBC qualifies as a reliable and honest news source with high standards in journalism, and therefore she is inferring to them as a news source whose reporting is accurate and to be trusted. Okay, the public needs assurance that they can get reliable information. I wonder if Penny thinks the BBC's recent reporting on the Israeli-Gaza conflict, which framed Hamas as not terrorists, I wonder if she believes that is to be trusted as well. Surely Penny Mordaunt doesn't think Hamas are a bunch of freedom fighters, does she? Or are we only to trust the BBC when Penny Mordaunt agrees with them? Anyway, I digress completely here. What I want to know is, where were all the other MPs? Why had they scurried off? How many more excess deaths will it take to get their attention? Or are they frightened about the truth coming out? I mean, why would our MPs be frightened if their constituents were to find out that a state-sanctioned medical procedure, supported by both sides of the House, potentially had killed or seriously injured their loved ones, and could have cut their own lifespans drastically short as well? Let's hope that Mr. Bridgen can secure a longer debate in the House of Commons, and a debate that will be better attended, although I fear attendance may have been at peak in the last debate. But given a better time slot for a debate, there is hope that attendance will increase, or at the very least, there is no excuse for not attending a debate when it's given a better time slot. Thank you, Andrew. And please know God is with you, and you are in the prayers of many families across this land and the rest of the world. There is a tidal wave of respect and love hanging over the Bridgen house right now, and I would like to say this to Andrew Bridgen's family. Andrew is one of the greatest men this country has ever produced, and you have every right to be intensely proud of him, which I am sure you all are, as are we. Right, I'm off. I hope you are all well. And once again, I'm afraid I must ask that you please help support this channel, because it's a struggle at the moment, and we want to keep regular content going without cutting back on our output. And we also want to improve content. So if you can help us, and we know times are tough, but if you can help us and support the channel via Patreon or PayPal, that would make both Jeff's life and my life a lot easier. Just a few quid a month really makes a hell of a lot of difference. Links on how to support us are in the descriptions box below, and also in the Jeff Taylor channel About section. And on behalf of Jeff and myself, I would like to thank those of you who have already signed up to Patreon to commit to like a regular monthly donation. That means the world to us. And also, we'd like to thank those of you who sent us donations via PayPal and via the YouTube itself. We are both very touched by your support, so thank you. God bless you, and lots of love to you all. Bye for now.